Okay, g'day guys, just a quick track guide here for the FNRC Bathurst 200 in the Ferrari GTE. This is using the baseline iRacing setup, which I think is 35 litres of fuel, and the default Bathurst 200 weather as well. The lap was a 159.126, but the optimal was a 158.643, so there's still plenty of time to be found on this lap as well, and it's pretty tough getting a full lap in here anyway, but we'll have a look anyway, see how we did. It's coming up to turn 1 and we're looking to brake sort of halfway between the 100 and the 50 metre board, probably about 80 metres from the corner I'd say. And we'll be going down from 4th gear to 2nd gear. I take a little bit too much apex here, but it was still okay. It didn't trigger a 1x and didn't upset the car too much either. So coming up to turn 2, and we'll be braking basically when the nose of the car gets to that service road there on the left, and going down from 5th gear to 3rd gear. Critical here to get in onto the apex so that you can use that camber to get on the throttle early. If you listen to the car, I'll be on the throttle well before exit, and make sure you use all of the road on exit as well. Coming up to the cutting, I like to change up to 4th gear, but it's not absolutely necessary. You can hold 3rd if you want, but regardless, 3rd or 4th gear, we'll be changing down to 2nd gear for the cutting. I tend to like to drive this corner as sort of one big arc rather than as 2 separate corners, and so I probably brake a little bit earlier than a lot of people do as well. And I would just tend to brake a little bit softer because I am always constantly turning. My brake reference here is that wall on the left. Once I get to the wall on the left, then I'll start braking. So we're down into 2nd gear, pretty much off the brakes, and you can just use the camber to get you in through this corner. Hold a nice tight line close to the wall and try and get on the power as early as you can. Just feed it in gradually though, otherwise you'll end up on the traction control and you'll end up losing time. So we're up to 3rd gear I think by this point. Get over nice and close to the left, and pretty much you have to get this apex on the right correct, otherwise you'll have to lift. So you can get through here flat out, but yeah, it all depends on that first right-hander. If you don't get it right, then just have a partial lift, half throttle, and that'll get you away from the wall. So we're up to 4th now. Get nice and close to the wall here on the right, and you can see the grate up ahead. That's your turn-in point here. If you turn in too early, then you'll end up apexing the corner early and heading towards the wall on the right-hand side. So wait for that grate in the road as your point to turn in. And if you get the line right, you can just about hold it flat out through here, but I think on this lap I have a pretty decent lift. And avoid that apex curving as well, because that'll spit you out into the wall on the right. So up into 5th at this point, and again just a bit of a lift over the crest here to try and keep a bit more of the weight on the front of the car. And turning in maybe a little bit earlier than you think as well, otherwise you'll miss the apex. But again, it's just a bit of a partial lift through here. And back on the throttle as soon as you can. So beginning to brake at this point, you can probably run it a lot deeper than this. This would only be a light brake as well. But going just before the apex here on the right, it'll be changing down to fourth. And as we've gotten through the right-hander, we've got a nice straight little piece of road. Be changing down into third here and trying to get most of our braking done before we get to the left. Try not to carry any brake over the left because that's going to upset your car and spit you into the wall. Alright, and again, this is probably the most critical bit of the S's in my point of view, and you can carry quite a lot of speed through the right and left before this, but this is the one that you've really got to slow down for, otherwise you'll ruin your line through the dipper. So at this point we're in third, we change down to second before the right-hander and just try and get as close to the wall as we can. So I've turned in already at this point, and a little bit of brake, not necessarily to slow the car, but just to get the car turned in a little more aggressively to keep nice and close to the left-hand wall. And also you want to be sort of getting on the throttle just before you get through the dipper, just a little bit of throttle, and then pick it up nice and gradually, and that'll keep the rear end in check. So I was up to third at this point and just shifting down to second. I feel like second's better for Forest Elbow. But yeah, braking back up here just a little bit, carrying a little bit of brake through this right-hander until we can get the car straight and get on the brakes nice and hard. And this would be about the point where I'd be starting to brake pretty hard. I'd prefer to brake a little bit earlier here and get it right than try and really push the limit and get it wrong, because it'll cost you a couple of tenths easily down Conrod. That curb on the right, it can upset the car if you hit it wrong. And here we'll probably brake just after the 150, maybe sort of halfway between the 150 and the 100, or you can use the dirt patch in the road as well as a marker and brake a couple of car lengths before that. And so that was third gear through the chase that time as well. You saw I got a little bit happy with the throttle on exit, but that was all okay. You can use second if you want, but I feel like it's better to keep a little bit more speed up and take a bit more curb if you take it in third gear. And for the final corner, we brake just after the 100 board and go down from fourth gear to second gear for the final turn, trying to keep off that apex. If you do hit that apex, it's just going to delay you getting onto the throttle again. And there it is, that's a lap of Bathurst, 159.1. So get practicing. Good luck for Saturday.